So what does a successful omni-channel initiative look like? First of all, you need to consider, what do I have in place in some of these really key components? What do I have for a web storefront? And how does that interact with all my other systems? And I have to look across all my supply chain because, of course, if you're in the e-commerce business, you may already have a dedicated fulfillment center. You have a fulfillment center that's replenishing to your retail store. And then you've got order management systems, which decide how am I going to have inventory available to promise? How am I going to fulfill this order? And where am I going to fulfill it? And even when am I going to fulfill it? Then what fulfillment systems do I have to be able to take the order and deliver it to my customer? We're going to focus in on how do we do fulfillment in the retail store. When we look at doing fulfillment in a retail store, we're going to consider, where is my product located? Well, how do I find where that product is? Many times in a retail store, they have something called planograms, and planograms can be very accurate. Sometimes they're not perfect. We also have different inventory that may be in one retail store versus another. So the fulfillment system has to know, what items do I have in this store so that I can find them and deliver them to the customer. So if we look at fulfillment systems inside of a retail store, some of the considerations is, what inventory do I have in my store? Do I have real-time pictures of inventory? What we're finding sometimes in retail operations like grocery, we have to make assumptions that that inventory is always there. And if it's not, then we start looking at exception type rules. In other situations, like if we're in apparel, there is no opportunity to make a substitution. You have to know that that inventory is there so you can make a promise to a customer. So when a person places that order, they're going to a store that we're going to fulfill that order in a store that has that inventory. And then we need to be interactive back with the customer that says, we've got it. You will have this item at this promised date and time. If it's important that you know the inventory in the store accurately and timely, what kind of solutions do you have in place that are going to give you that information? So is your fulfillment system completely interactive with your store environment, like point of sale systems, to be able to say, has a consumer come in and purchased this item so it's no longer on the shelf? Or is it available for me with my fulfillment system to choose that item and to promise it to an e-commerce customer? But now, as the success of omni-channel execution grows, is your solution and your business process set up so that you can scale? So maybe you start out and you're handling a half a dozen orders a day. Well, what happens if that you get into a holiday season and all of a sudden that's 50, 60, or 100 orders a day? Is your solution designed to scale? One of the other things that we're finding as we start doing fulfillment in retail stores is that there's a real opportunity to even differentiate from the pure play e-tailers, and that is, you can have a deeper and more personal relationship with your customer. So, for example, I have to make a substitution. And because of that, I need to maybe make a phone call or some electronic interaction with my customer. That customer now sees you as your local and personal supplier. And now you have an opportunity to strengthen that relationship and differentiate. And then on top of that, having the fulfillment center closer to the consumer. So now on my trip home from my office or the school or wherever it is, I can swing by my local store and pick up my items, for example, grocery items, on my way home. So now I have that experience that I'm working with my local retail brick and mortar store, but I have an e-commerce process that's second to none. We believe successful omni-channel has to include the retail store fulfillment. And to do that, you need systems that are very interactive, all the way from point of sale and web storefronts down to the whole fulfillment process. And these systems then need to be interactive with the customer, with management, and with the people that are doing the order fulfillment so that things are done accurately, timely, and done at a cost that's affordable, that builds a good business case. So by now you're getting the feeling it really makes sense to consider using my retail store in e-commerce fulfillment. In the following sessions, we're going to give you some ideas of things you need to consider and some of the components that are critical to make this successful.